Welcome to Let's Play Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. In case you're wondering, yes, the game does start you out on a balcony with no explanation whatsoever, but don't worry, it'll all make sense in the course of the game.
Most people think time is like a river that flows swift and sure in one direction, but I have seen the face of time, and I can tell you, they are wrong. Time is an ocean in a storm. You may wonder who I am and why I say this. Sit down, and I will tell you a tale like none that you have ever heard. Know first, that I am the son of Shahram, a mighty king of Persia. On our way to Azad with a small company of men, we passed through India, where the promise of honor and glory tempted my father into a grievous error.
No, my son.
Your Majesty, I trust you will remember your promise. The Maharaja's treasure vaults lie within.
See how he fights. Like a warrior son.
Well, this is a fine mess you've gotten us into.
Do you think I felt regret as I gazed upon the destruction we had wrought? Or at least humility at the speed with which a world can be transformed from a good work into a hell? If you think so, you are mistaken. For in that moment I thought of one thing only. The honor and glory I would bring my father by fighting like a warrior in their first battle.
As you can see, the game doesn't pull any punches and starts you off in the middle of a city siege. These gentlemen seem to be making some headway, so let's see if we can maybe lend a hand. Or maybe we're better off searching for a different route. Being the agile Prince of Persia, we'll be spending a lot of time running, climbing, and jumping. That doesn't look too comfortable. We'll also be doing various other acrobatic tricks, such as running up walls. Now, this being the tutorial era, it'll introduce things such as the landscape camera, which is quite useful for some puzzles, and the first-person view, which is almost always entirely useless. Most of the time, though, we'll be spending this freely rotatable camera view or a fixed camera position, such as this. These are sometimes quite useful, showing you where you need to go. That guy didn't seem to fare so well. Over here, then, we have our first enemy. Combat in this game is fairly simple. You essentially have three buttons. You have attack, block, and jump, which will allow you to do evade rolls and backflips and so on. Even though it's just three buttons, you can combine these buttons into various combos to make the fighting in this game actually fairly interesting. Of course, you can always just hit attack over and over until the enemy dies, but that doesn't work as well later on. You could also, though, vault over enemies such as this. Or if you are blocking and time it correctly, so that when you hit attack just when the enemy's attack lands as well, you can perform a counterattack. These counterattacks are quite powerful, but as everything in this game, become a bit more difficult to perform later on.
Many men that day sought to win honor and glory on the battlefield, that their king might say to them, as Khosrow said to Rustam, "You are the noblest of my warriors." From the moment my sword tasted blood, I knew this would not be my way. I would win my father's praise, not by killing, but by being the first to find the Maharaja's treasure vault and the wonders within.
Yeah, remember that line about the not killing? because the second game in the series will take that line and then proceed to shit all over it. But let's not let that mar our enjoyment of this game. Here's a situation like we'll be facing it most of the time in the game. Combat against multiple enemies. Here it's important to use things such as evasion rolls or backflips, or attacks such as vaulting over the enemy, because not only will this let you attack the enemy, but also avoid the attacks coming towards you. Now take a look at what the prince is wearing, because this will change in the course of the game. I'll point out the appropriate times. And here's the introduction of another acrobatic trick. Wall running. We'll be doing this a lot in the game. Plenty of puzzles are based around timing your wall runs correctly. Now, health in this game is handled via water, either in water pits like this or in water fountains. Simply walk up to them, hold the use or block key, and it will restore your health. Simple. Camera trips such as these are often used to show you where you need to go in a level, and at least at the beginning, how to get there. Later on you'll have to figure that out for yourself. Now here's two more tricks you can use in combat. Pushing off walls, either directly and stabbing the enemy, like so, or pushing off and vaulting over the enemy and slashing him. The push-off stab is very popular since most enemies can't block it, so you can very easily take out enemies later on when they get harder to fight normally. I'll try not to cheat that. Here's another situation we'll be facing quite often, moving along ledges. There's generally three ways to do that. Hanging off and pushing against the wall like so, hanging off from a ledge and shimmying along, and just standing on a ledge and moving over. Just hanging down without pushing seems to be the slowest, so I try and use one of the other two if I can. Now even if combat in sense of time is quite simple, it's still challenging, especially because you really have to watch out if there's multiple enemies around, because if you get hit once, you get a short amount of hit stun, during which time other enemies can attack you and hit you again and stun you again and so on and so forth. So you really have to watch out to not get hit, or you can get chain raped basically. Here's the first puzzle in the game, if you can call it such, and landscape camera helps a lot. You have to climb up these columns and then just push off and jump to the next. As you can see here, you can only hang on in 4 different directions, so it's not like you can miss a column. If you do, you just jump in the completely wrong direction. And here is the only time
Shall I continue my story from here the next time we're interrupted?
that the prince asked this question without a certain in-game event. For now though, let's just save and I'll see you next video.